Avellini back to throw on the first count. Sets up deep. Now throws it long down the left side. Open. He's wide up. He's down. Touchdown. Touchdown. Leno wide open. Makes the catch. Incredible. 3 seconds to go. 37-yard touchdown pass. Avellini to Leno, who was so wide open. I was only worried about him dropping the ball. I was worried about him running under it. Avellini threw that ball for all he was worth. He was throwing it into a win.
Behind Avellini. Coming was Kelly, and he got the pass to Payton. And Payton is still in bounds before he is knocked down by Carson. He got away from Larry Mallory at the 24-yard line. 28 seconds. Avellini. And the snap from Neal. 30-yard field goal is up. Good.
The Bears win.
And the Chicago Bears have won the wild card with 4 seconds left to go in the season.
And there's Jack
Washington
Pardee.
Redskins.
What a finish.
Oh, am I happy for him. Am I happy for him.
Somebody big just died. Bob Avellini, the former Bears quarterback who alongside Walter Payton led the 1977 Bears to the playoffs, is dead at 70 years old. And here to help eulogize him is the one and only Mike North. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. It's good to talk to you, Joe. It's good to see you again. We've been off a little bit. Last month was a huge month as far as people that have passed away. This past month been pretty good. We get paid by the death here. Everybody knows that. But I'm going to tell you something right now. That brought back such great memories. And we're going to talk about all that and more. But let's get the sponsors out of the way, because without them, we can't do this great venue.
That's right.
Just died. You talk about where Bob's going to be laid out. We have no information on that. But we do know if he was going to be laid out. And he was a Chicago guy. And I'll explain that, even though he was born in Queens. He would have been maybe laid out in Cumberland Chapels, one of the great chapels, funeral homes in the world and country today. 8300 West Lawrence Avenue. Take care of you. Make sure your needs are met. Make sure that it's a pleasant as can be experience in a tough situation. Great people running the establishment. Been there for years. It's a landmark. It was it broke the mold of the small family type of funeral homes to a bigger family type of situation where you have more than one chapel, a lot of demand, of people die every day. We understand that. But it's a great place. Go check out the Lupos and everybody else over there, and they'll take care of you with dignity. And that's Cumberland Chapels. And then there's a great place that I've been to. Haven't been there in a couple of weeks, but I hang out there every so often. I hope to meet you there sometime, folks. The great folks at Pennyville Station, owned by Tony Antonacci. And, of course, my good friend, the ambassador of restaurants in the Chicagoland area and the free world, Tino Antonacci, ladies and gentlemen. The prime rib on Saturday night special is as good as it gets. The drinks are outstanding. Go in there with a couple buddies, or, go in there to meet some people, have a great time. There I am with the great Jesse Rogers and Tony there. They're building another place on the corner there. It's going to be another name of a place, 112 Main Street. You can't miss it, folks, so check it out. Let's get to Bob Avellini. You just saw. Now, you got to remember, 1963 is when the Bears last won. Okay, 1963, I'm 11. 1977, I'm married. Okay, so that's the goal we're talking about here. I'm 11, and it's not, and I'm married then. That's the next time we're in there with any kind of hope at all. False hope, as it turns out, but at least it broke the mold. And who does it? And Bob Avellini was one of these guys. He loved Chicago, was born in New York. I knew Bob well. We're cut along the same cloth in a lot of different ways. My favorite story about Bob, after I get through the particulars, Was born August 28th, 1953. I mean, who has a throwing motion like that? Okay. Look at that. We used to get them from the Coca-Cola company. You open a bottle of Coke, they'd be there.
Yeah.
There's Walter with his patented leap playing the Seahawks. Bobby was really a facilitator in the best words here. He was born August 28th, 1953. Died in Chicago, from what I understand, May 4th. 6'2", 208 pounds. He was our quarterback forever, folks. Okay? It wasn't one of these deals where, oh, let's get rid of him. Trubisky, get out of here.
No, he had his time. That's for
sure. No,
sure.
he's not. Get out of here. Caleb Williams. Yeah, I've been through the nonsense. But there was a time where if you're with the Bears and you can cut a good deal for yourself, he started for them. But he was one of those, we can't have Justin Fields play behind anybody. We got to get rid of him. Bobby Avellini was a starter for a playoff team. And then for years, he was a backup.
Right, he was on the team for 9 years total.
No, I mean, now you got to put up gigantic numbers, Joe, to be on a team for 9 years. Like I said, I wasn't kidding. Oh, look, he's no good. Let's move on. That didn't happen back then. And what's funny is his record is 23-27. The Bears defense was damn good.
They were.
They were so good because if you look at Bob Avellini's stats, there's no way in hell they should have won 2 games. I'm serious.
Stats weren't that good. I'll give you that.
They were horrible. But I talked to Bob about this. I won an Emmy Award for Fox doing a piece called The North Side. And I would meet with a different celebrity each week in a different situation. And we had it set up at a Marathon gas station across from the cemetery on Clark Street.
Oh, geez.
Right by Irving Park Road. And Bob pulls in. And I come out and I got a squeegee. And I'm acting. I go, are you Bobby Avellini? He goes, that's right. I go, man, I can't believe I'm meeting you in person. And you had that 1 year, but man, and I'm squeegeeing the time. We're going back and forth. And we were buddies. And Bob was from the University of Maryland, lifelong bachelor. I don't even know what his marital status was. I looked all over the place today. If it wasn't for shows like this, he was a footnote. And Joe will tell you this because of my lack of confidence in my people.
Oh, it's not a lack of confidence, Mike.
I just didn't want to step out. I had the story, didn't I, Joe? I broke the story of
Mike broke the story, and I was caught aback because I didn't see it on any outlet. I'm like,
that's
what's
right.
Your source, Mike? He goes, oh, I got somebody.
I got somebody. And am I right, Joe? We're waiting. We must have waited an hour and a half. I'm going, where is it?
It was at least 2 hours.
Yeah. And I'm going, should I break it? I go, I'm not that type. I'm not a breaking story type of guy, but somebody should break this son of a gun. And finally, it happened. And I was free to send, because our job is to talk about these guys after the story's broke. I could have broke it, but I got to be honest. I didn't want to give out. When somebody dies, it's different than if somebody's been traded. Or
Agreed.
If he doesn't die and you say he did die, that affects other people. There's my guy. He lived a life. No doubt about it. And I got so much good information on Bobby that I got to be honest with you. He played at a place called Lakeshore Park. It's that park if you go down Lakeshore Drive in a bar league. He played for Mothers in the late 80s. I played for Shenanigans. I'm telling you, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm playing for Shenanigans. That's the name of the bar. Everybody knows it down on Division.
Yeah.
I was a doorman there for a while. I played with guys, and I played a few games there, but it was an early morning Sunday league. It was hard for me to get downtown at that time. I was married, and we were living up by Foster and D by the time, but I played, and I intercepted Bob Avellini in the bar league.
Look at that.
So then we become buddies, and I tell him about it. Oh, he says, I threw some. He was just a regular guy, but here's what happened. The booze got the best of him. There's no two ways about it. And when you drink like Bob did, and I'm not making excuses for him, when you drink like I used to, when a lot of Chicago guys used to, before marijuana was legal, before there were gummies, here it is right here. He got 18 months, man. And it was dark for him for a while. But Bob, let me tell you a story. I had somebody tell me one time, ran into a friend of mine. He said he saw you at a bar and you got in a beef with somebody. What? When you drink 3 days a week, okay, for like Bob and I did for 30 years, 40 years, okay, and 3 days a week, 3 days a week, and you're out with the public times 52 weeks. Let's take 2 weeks off times 50. I'm out 150 times back in my heyday. I was out literally 100. And who was I out with? Everybody, different people. I didn't think I was better than anybody else. It was just my occupation. But sure, you'd have a couple beefs. But in that bar that you have the beef, then it gets around.
Sure.
Okay? If you have one or two little issues, even though you're out. So it's hard to beat that rep. Now, I haven't drank for 17 years. But people will still stay. Hey, I remember North squaring up on Addison and Cicero with a guy in a bar or this or that.
And Mike, of all people, I mean, you can certainly relate to the situation.
Absolutely.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about that kind of like.
That's what I'm doing. I'm setting this
whole,
exactly, Joe. I'm setting up what happened to Bob. He had the same issues, but I never was banned from any bars. I never was that bad. I mean, I was always a get along Joe for the most part. Hung out with a bunch of different people. But I did have 2 DUIs and I beat them. Before you had to blow, I beat them. One I didn't deserve to beat, and one I did deserve to beat. One was bogus and one wasn't. Period.
Right.
Bobby had 3.
That's a lot.
Now, for the people that don't know I'm sober 17 years, they may remember those days. I'd have the world tour and everything else. Well, Bobby didn't. But Bobby was a quarterback who heard how shitty he was for the rest of his days. And yet he stayed here, sold real estate, was very successful. I saw him with some of the most beautiful women you'll ever want to see, even after he got done playing. He was the quarterback of the Bears. Here's what I'm going to say about Bob. He was our guy. I said it on Twitter. We didn't have the Montanas. We didn't have the Ferragamos. We didn't have the Unitises. And if you notice that team and that mob scene, if you want to show it again, let's see the pass again. It's as good a passing. Greg Latta, I remember it like it was yesterday, him gathering this in. Let's check the open out if we can, Joe. Again.
Sure. Here we go.
Avellini back to throw on the first count. Sets up deep. Now throws it long down the left side. Open. Is Latta. He's got it. Touchdown. Touchdown. Latta wide open. Makes the catch. Incredible. 3 seconds to go. 37-yard touchdown.
The greatest announcer who's ever been in Chicago, Jack Brickhouse. You also see him with the New York beating the New York Giants in the playoff game. I mean, and the guy that saved him literally was Bob Thomas. Now in that clip, well, Bob Thomas kicks the winning field goal. Avellini's holding.
Yep.
You see Jiggets. You see Buffon. You see James Scott. You see Rick. All our guys that absolutely. And that team was 9-5. And who spurned it? Walter Payton. 1,800 yards. I mean, my God, he was like a dynamo. And Avellini had years where he threw 18 interceptions and 9 touchdowns. You saw the stats. Pull his stats up, Joe. Can you get them on stat reference here? Because I want to show you. This guy played. You think I had an issue with Cutler? You think I had an issue with Cutler playing for us for 8 years, going 50-50? We'll see if we can pull him up. I surprised Joe with this. We didn't go along with the deal there.
But if you can't, I got it right here.
Here we go.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see here. Share screen. Boom. Here we go.
Okay.
Let me zoom in on this a little bit for you.
Here we go. All right. Look at these years. Okay. He starts 4 games, plays in 8 and 75. But here, the key year 77, 9-5. You went 9-5 with a guy that threw 11 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. It's like a freaking miracle if you look at it, right? It's like a freaking miracle. And so now the next year they come back and he goes 4-8. And that was the beginning of the end. Then Mike Phipps took over. We went to Vince Evans in the 80s. It was just a circus. But the fact that after 80, I don't know what happened in 81. Oh, wait, no, he wasn't arrested yet or anything. But from there on in, he just collected a good paycheck, and he was a quarterback for the Chicago Bears. He wouldn't last today. With the way the standards are, he would have been gone after 78. Would you agree, Joe?
Absolutely. I mean, even in 77, he had that one game against the Oilers where they lost like 47-0.
Yeah, with Dan Pastorini at quarterback. I'll never forget it. But here's the deal. He had so much trouble. He had been banned from bars. And he got the DUIs, 2 or 3 of them. He got convicted. And this is from good authority, and Joe will back me on this. I broke the story.
He did 2 to 3 hours.
Before anybody had it for 2 hours. I had it, but I didn't want to do it. I'll let somebody else do it. And now the same people told me that he was ready to get 7 years and that he was going to stay in Joliet for the first month. And the guy that saved him was Bob Thomas. And he ended up who was the judge, who became a judge, and who was the field goal kicker on the team. That's what I got from more than one person. I nailed it down. Bob Thomas, and I guess he was treated good, Bob, because it's not even a white collar crime. It's a victimless crime if you don't kill anybody.
Right.
You did it to yourself. So Bob Thomas, I got this, like I said, Joe will vouch for me on good authority. He was going to do 7 years. And Bobby Avellini was going to do 7 years on Bob Thomas.
And they 18 months, right?
Yeah. So that was still, you're the quarterback of the Bears. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, whenever you get in the paper for something like that. But I also want to say this about Bob. If you hung with him, he was rough around the edges. Okay? You have a couple drinks with him, really cool, Yeah. You have more than 4. You have more than 4 with them, look out. That's all I'm going to tell you. So here's the thing about it. He beat it finally. He moved down to Florida, from what I understand. I think everybody in Chicago loved him. We all felt bad about him dying, man.
Yeah.
He was our childhood quarterback. We didn't have the Montanas. We didn't have the Bradys. Bobby Avellini was our guy. And he lasted longer than Fields, Trubisky, Cutler. Think about it.
Which is so wild with the stats, Mike. It's so wild.
The shock of it is, Joe's always shocked by people that die. But the longevity of his career with the Bears, and then being picked up by the Jets and other teams, right?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. What? Anyway, I think we've covered him pretty good. I love Bob. I did. And I think the guys that grew up, he was our guy. But I remember me and my buddy Johnny O'Malley and Jimmy Karetsis, and we'd go to the Bear games. And O'Malley would be going, is this guy our quarterback? How is this guy still our quarterback?
And he was still young at 70 too.
Yeah, still a young guy. Died of pancreatic cancer, which only 4%. My uncle's one of them, one of the lucky ones. He's had it for 9 years.
God bless him.
Yeah, my Uncle Leo, 93 5% don't last 5 years
Oh,
of the
man.
people that get it. And my uncle's one of the lucky ones, but and we're very fortunate. But Bobby had it, and unfortunately, he's gone. So, Joe, I got some parting words on Bob Avellini. I know that you were a youngster back then, but you heard
Yeah.
the stories.
I was a glimmer in my parents' eye, but I definitely heard the stories. I always knew him as a backup. I never even knew about 77 really. It was before
Yeah.
him, but I got to do some homework up to the show, and there's a couple highlights in there. I'm not.
Oh, hell yeah. You made the playoffs with the Bears in 77. It's been 14 years. He was the quarterback. And it was when you look at the Bear defense against the offensive teams they played this year, the Bears were locked down, man, defensively. They were pretty good. They were good. But on behalf of Joe, I'll just say my final words to Bobby Avellini and to all Bear fans that grew up. He was one of our guys, man. He hung out at the bars. He worked real estate in Chicago. He made Chicago his home. He went to the University of Maryland. Don't know much about his private life. I don't even know if he was married. I saw him in pictures with another woman, but I don't want to be presumptuous because we do respect the
Of course,
the dead here. We wanted to just delve into more of what kind of guy Bob was, and he will be missed. So, on behalf of myself, Joe, parting words, my friend.
just that Bob was a Bear at heart, and he will always be. And Mike, I wanted to bring up, I know you had a couple other folks you wanted to highlight before we get out of here.
Oh, I'm glad you remembered me. I'm glad I handed off to you. Go ahead, my friend. Joe Collier, the Orange Crush coach, and from the Denver Broncos, we thought we'd throw him in, but he wasn't big enough for a full cut. There's been other people that passed away that we want to hit Cumberland Chapels. We want to get money from Pennyville, but we couldn't do it. And then this guy was close. He was in movies with John Wayne. He was a quarterback for the Rams during their heyday. Roman Gabriel, man. Took 5 guys to bring him down. I remember his hookups to Jack Snow. So on behalf of Joe, and thank you, Joe, for that, to Collier family and to Gabriel family, and of course, too. And to the 77 Bears, you got some play because Joe didn't even know about you. But to Bob Avellini's family, God bless you. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.